Hey, everybody. So, I want to welcome you to today's workshop, the follow-up formula that is being hosted and taught by the one of the smartest and most organized people that I know, Karen Trendell, who's a highly valued member of the professional development team. She is the vice president of the Southern Westchester chapter, and she is the COO at Anchor Payroll Solutions. But her background is so interesting and extensive. And honestly, if there's something operation wise that I'm not really quite sure how to do in my business, she is my go-to every single time. Um, Highly methodical and thoughtful in her process, which also makes her, even though she's the COO, she does a lot of sales for Anchor Payroll Solution, and she is the top producer at her company and often exceeds her goal by hundreds of percents. And she does that through really great networking, mostly. And so I'm going to turn over our call to Karen Trendell, who's going to get us started.
Thank you, Teresa. I will pay you for that promo later on today with some nice bourbon. Yeah, I am Karen Trendell. I am the COO of Anchor Payroll Solutions, also the president of the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce, and also on the board of directors for the Hudson Valley Chamber. And I bring that up only because I do care about the small business community, which I think is extremely important and integral in our businesses. So networking is very important, and Master Network has been extremely key for me in my development and my solutions, and also developing and grooming my sales team. So I'm going to talk about things today you probably already know. I know we're all strong professionals. I think that there are just going to be some things that maybe might turn on a light bulb, and I hope that that happens. What I will say right out of the gate, if anybody wants to follow up with me after this presentation, where I can help or guide you in any way, that offer is open to you. So I am known as an operations specialist, turnaround specialist in my industry, the operational industry. Doesn't matter what widget you're selling, but it is one of the things that I'm passionate about is really putting a method together and bootstrapping solutions for the business community to help them grow and prosper. So, with that said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why follow-up matters. And really, the reason why follow-up matters is, it's the key to nurturing relationships, right? So 80% of sales requires 5 follow-up interactions, but 44% of people today give up after 1 follow-up. And when we talk about follow-up, I'm not talking about, let me just send an email, let me not think about what's in it. That's not a follow-up. So I want us to really become a little bit more methodical in how we're preparing those follow-ups, what the timing is, and what benefit we're going to be providing to the people that we're speaking to. The one quote I want you to remember out of all of this is, the fortune is in the follow-up. If you think you're going to get the money out of the gate, I can assure you that's not the way this works. What matters is showing your value at every touch point and making sure that you're bringing value to those people, because when they see value in you, they will value that relationship and come back to you in kind. So I will ask, with a show of hands, how many attendees follow up with their clients and or prospects 5 or more times within a 6-month period of first engagement? Show of hands. Okay. Great. That's wonderful. So I want to talk a little about mastering the art of consistent and effective follow-up, right? The importance of a structured follow-up process, right? This session is to help facilitate collaborative learning and practical application, and empowering you to leave the session with a concrete follow-up process that you can implement immediately. There are 4 steps in the follow-up process that we'll discuss today, right? So the goal of this session is to create a personalized follow-up strategy and develop a clear understanding of your value add, how to clearly communicate who you are and what you do, so the people that you're speaking to really can resonate when they're talking to someone else and be like, oh, I know Rick does ABC. I'm going to let Sarah know she should speak to Rick, right? And how to clearly communicate who you are and what you do, and craft a snackable pitch that captures value, right? If we're sitting there, we're babbling on about all the things we do, it's very hard for people to figure out what really is that. So when I use the word snackable, right, you need to make sure that it's so quick, so digestible, so understandable that it's clear. It doesn't matter if the person understands your industry well. All that matters is what they understand about you and what you offer. Right. So, like I said, we're talking about the 4 steps: initial contact, timely follow-up, value addition, and consistent check-ins. These are very, very important. I want to talk to you about frequency and timing next. Okay. Now, these are recommended timeframes, but you need to determine what is comfortable for you. Okay. But whatever you do choose, stick with it. You can tweak it. You need to be agile. You should be learning from your process, right? Sometimes frequency is dependent upon the type of contact associated with your outreach, right? You may reach out to your company, your clients in a different frequency. You may reach out to your prospects in a different frequency, and the frequency may elevate or decrease based on time of year. So think about all of those things that are going to really navigate how you're working your process, right? So think about who you're going and find the cadence that works best for you and stick to it, right? Stick to at least for 30 to 60 days. Then you can tweak it. Keep what works, tweak what doesn't work. If you're not getting feedback, you're not getting responses, you're going to want to make sure you're working on your messaging, you're working on the information that you're sharing. On the immediate side, you're looking at a 0 to 2 days. So send a thank you note and a recap. On a 2 to 4 week window, share something of value and suggest a call or a meeting, right? 1 to 3 months, you're referencing a past interaction, you're updating on a mutual connection, or you're suggesting a collaboration. Collaborations are great. You're coming back 3 months later and be like, hey, listen, I'm working on this stuff. Really would love some insight from you. Thought we could meet over coffee or jump on a Zoom. You're not asking them to buy anything. You're not asking them, you're not pitching them. You're just collaborating, right? And then 6+ months, share your company updates, events, or personal milestones, making sure that you're staying top of mind without overwhelming your contact. So now I want to talk a little about framework, and I want everybody to pay attention to this particular slide because we're going to break out next, okay? And I'm going to give you some insight into what the breakout is so you can start thinking while I'm going through this. All right, so this breakout session, based on how many people are in the room, we're going to break out for 5 to 10 minutes. I'll leave that to Teresa. But what I want each group member, you're going to be divided into groups, but what I want each group member to briefly share your current follow-up process. If you have one, you may not have one, and that's fine. That's what you're here for. Or if you do have one, let's talk about what the challenges that you face in following up effectively, okay? And then identify your common themes or pain points. So think about your current process, if you have one, challenges you're facing in your follow-up, and then the common themes or pain points. That's what I really want you to focus on right now. So there are 5 critical areas of focus when you're looking at framework. It's initial contact, timing of follow-up, personalization, frequency and consistency, value-adding tactics. I'm going to repeat myself for a purpose because it'll stick, okay? So what I want you to think about when you're thinking about initial contact is, what information do you want to capture during the first interaction? There's nothing worse than sitting down with somebody and they only talk about themselves. If you're truly sitting there and wanting to connect with that person, you need to figure out what kind of questions you're going to be asking. You need to figure out what kind of information you want to be capturing. And then you want to retain it. Don't forget it. How many of us walk away and be like, shoot, what was his wife's name? Oh my God, what was his pain point? Take a note. There's nothing wrong there's nothing more impressive to somebody when you're sitting there and you're literally taking a note of what they're saying to you and what they're sharing with you. How will you organize and store this information? This is one area I specialize in. We have plenty of people. Tara Lowenstein works for Thrive. I use Thrive. I use HubSpot. I've bootstrapped Salesforce. Think about your CRMs. There's plenty of free ones out there. Organizing and storing your information is important. If you can't get to it and you can't store it, you're not going to be able to come up with a framework and a follow-up process. Timing of follow-up. Define follow-up timeframes. We talked about immediate, short-term, long-term. I gave you a guide. but you need to figure out what's comfortable for you, what frequency is comfortable for you based on your business, right? Personalization strategy. List ways to personalize each follow-up based on the person's interest or business needs. Okay. If you're personalizing it based on your own needs, wants, that's not personalizing it. Personalize it for that individual in which you wish to make a strong relationship with. And create a sample template for personalizing messages, right? I call them snippets. You can customize them, but it's always a starting point, right? And I am going to gift you some templates at the end that you can use and modify, but at least it's a starting point. And then frequency and consistency. Determine the ideal frequency. I've said that a couple of times already. It's very important. And how will you ensure consistency in your follow-up process? What tools, what reminders? How are you going to remind yourself to follow up, right? And value-adding tactics, right? Brainstorm. We've got a plethora of people in this room alone that are just wonderful people to be brainstorming with, to come up with added values and follow up and share content and make introductions and provide insights, right? And choose 2 to 3 value adds that align with your services. Start with 2 to 3, and every quarter, add another 2 to 3. By the end of the year, you have so many value adds that you can be, and go back and tweak your value adds, see what worked, what really got you in front of people. And then start planning for your new year. And we're sitting at a critical point in the year right now. At the end of 2024, we are trying to cap our year, learn from what we did, learn from what we didn't do, what worked, what didn't work, and plan our goals for 2025. So building this framework off of what we've learned and our experiences of this current year and building out a framework for 2025 will set you up for success. So with that said, I am going to roll into a breakout session. And like I said, Teresa, how long do you think we're going to have?
I think we can do like 7 minutes. So like, well, you'll see the countdown timer for 6 minutes. And when we close the rooms, you'll have another minute.
Great. Perfect. I would ask each group, assign a scribe and come back with just a couple of points that you can share with each other, with us. And we'll do that quickly so we can get back into the presentation and have enough time for a secondary breakout. But remember, in each group, briefly share current follow-up process, challenges, and pain points. Okay, so we're going to break on out.
Great. All right, have fun.
Bill needs a room. He's not assigned.
Oh, well, I have a room, but I'll take another room.
Hey, Phil, I got you.
Sorry. So
go for it.
This is great, Karen.
Does it sound okay? Good.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm good.
Want me to go? You know what? I'll go an 8 with those ladies.
Okay.
Even them out and berate them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I'm joking.
We have a good turnout today? I
Yeah.
can't see everybody. So
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. I mean, considering like last year, we were getting like.
I'm sorry. Send me back
That's
in.
okay.
My computer is cutting out my audio.
All right.
Thank you.
Again. Hold on a second.
We'll try it again, see if it works.
Yes.
Okay.
Here we go. Welcome
All right,
back, everybody. Go ahead, Karen.
Great. I can't see everybody, so I'm going to ask Teresa to call out because she's got the groups, but I'm going to ask, I'm not really worried about your current follow-up process. We know you're either using a CRM or a spreadsheet, or maybe you're not using anything at all, but let me ask you this question. What challenges did you hear people constantly talk about while you were in these groups about follow-up process? Challenge, pain point. Does anybody want to volunteer?
Feel free to, I can see everybody, so just raise your hand.
I can see Rick's hand.
Rick, go ahead, Rick.
So my confession was that although I have all the tools and have spent so much time and money over so many years, I'm inconsistent in entering the data to put people in the follow-up process. My number one problem.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to that in a second.
Eric?
Anyone else?
Eric has his hand raised.
So, let me remove that that reaction there. So, and this is also part of what it is for me too, but I feel like it's the automation kind of thing is like, it's kind of hard to either use the automation tools that allow for the follow-ups, or they don't do enough of a job in terms of kind of forcing you to follow up that, like, kind of like, hey, nudge, hey, you didn't hear back from them. So I would say it's more along the lines of like that there's nothing that's or that there aren't many tools that are kind of forcing you to follow up.
Okay.
Awesome. And then Joe had his hand up. That would be the last year.
Compliance. Depending on what industry you're in, you are handcuffed by certain compliance rules that will prevent you from using certain tools that might be at your disposal. You know, and trying to get around those compliance rules is sometimes very tough.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. And
thank you for sharing.
In the chat we had Tina said time, and Bodil said time and too many steps.
Okay. All right. So I want to just quickly address a few of these things. You know, Rick saying, you know, tools and consistency and entering the data. Rick, you're a creature of someone who really holds people accountable to their health and setting aside time to do the things that they need to do. Am I correct? I want you, my friend, to set a day and a time every week. Maybe it's a Friday. Find your less frequent. Fridays are great because it's the end of the week. It allows you to kind of look back. Just carve out an hour of your time and put the data in. Force yourself to make that your exercise, and you'll see the change. You'll see the shift in getting that up and running. But if you carve out the time, you can make it happen. I know it's often tough. Yep. Automation, using the tools, follow up, forced to follow up. Eric, I believe that was you. What I would say is if you have the right tool, and there's plenty of free tools out there, and you build the right follow-up process, you can actually work on a workflow that will help you automate it. So it'll actually set itself. And you can time it. So if you decide what the timing is, you know, the 0 to 2 days, the 1 month, the 3 month, the 6 month, you can set those workflows up. And within those workflows, if someone responds back, it actually can push it out of workflow and get it to you for you to make the phone call before they get the final follow-up, because you don't want to get a follow-up to go out when you know that a call is needed. And the other thing is, and this goes to Joe and everybody, don't forget the value of the personal call. Don't get stuck in email hell, right? Where you get around compliance, Joe, is calling, because where your compliance structure really impacts you is email. And I think that there's nothing, everybody should be picking up that phone in your follow-up process. Make sure that part of that process is inclusive of actually a phone call, multiple phone calls, figure out your time. And usually I do 2 emails, a follow-up phone call, another email, a follow-up phone call, build that pattern, then you can tweak it. But it's really going to be you leading the charge and making sure that you're using the tools and setting aside time to learn your tools. And if anybody needs any help on that or just wants to brainstorm on that, I can always meet up for a group of coffee. We could brainstorm away on CRM strategy. I'm going to move into, we're sitting at 12:30. I think we're doing great on time. I'm going to move into the personalization in your follow-up. Does that work for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want to talk a little about personalization in your follow-up. And I think it's really important. I talked a little bit about it, like making sure that when you're personalizing, it's not just about you, right? The key to meaning follow-up is using the recipient's name, referring to specific details from your conversation. I know I tapped on that a little bit, and this seems like so straightforward, but you'd be surprised if you go back to your communications and you look. I would almost guarantee that sometimes they're a little too canned. Maybe you're not using the recipient's name. Maybe you're not referring to a specific topic that you had in the conversation. Go back and think about those things. Mention recent events or news related to their business. If you're really interested in someone's business, you'll take the time to understand what's going on in their industry. And then you'll find a relational topic that marries up what you do and what they do. And you'll find that providing that detail level information will build on their trust of you, right? And tailoring your messages to their industry and challenges or personal interests. Those are really important as well, because it means you were listening to everything that they were saying to you in every communication or every touch point you've had with them, right? So examples, are kind of like what I've laid out here, so I remember you mentioned, that you were having a challenge with, your payroll and your taxes, or customer service when it comes to getting someone to help you. Here's an article I thought you'd find useful. I saw your recent post, you should be following them, right? You should be sharing their posts. When they see you're engaged in their social media, when they're seeing you're being responsive to their emails, even just getting an email from someone and dropping a note that says, great to see, great to hear from you. Hope everything's well. I love the information you shared with me. Let's grab coffee. Leveraging their touch point to activate your touch point is beneficial as well. Okay. So we are going to break out for the next part of this, and we're going to divide you into groups. The worksheet I popped into the chat should be all the way at the top, right? Again,
You might
timing
have
of
to pop it
follow-up.
in again, Kara. You might have to pop it in one more time.
Okay,
for
I'll
the
do
people
that right when
came
I'm done with
later.
the next slide. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to repeat myself again. Initial contact, timing of follow-up, personalization strategies, frequency and consistency, and value add tactics. And the questionnaire really kind of highlights these bullets, okay? So what this is, what information do you want to capture during your first interaction? So we're talking about name, job title, company, contact details, emails, their phone number, their LinkedIn information, notes about their business needs, challenges or interests, dates and context of interaction, right? The event, the meeting, making sure you're taking all those notes, right? That's super important, right? How will you organize and store the information, right? Use a CRM system. You can use HubSpot, Salesforce, Thrive. Some people use spreadsheets to track contact details. Create a dedicated folder for notes and follow-up actions. Set reminders in your calendars for timely follow-up, right? You're all in Google. You're all in, emails. Make sure you're using the tools that you have access to. Reminders, set reminders, right? Timing of follow-up, right? Immediate, 0 to 2 days. You're sending a thank you email. You're summarizing your conversation, including any promised resources. Maybe during that conversation, say, hey, I have some information on BOI. I'll send you out. Let me know if you need anything, right? Links, documents, referrals. Get that out of the way. Those are reasons why you're going to be able to follow up, right? In the short term, 2 to 4 weeks, right? Now you're going to set yourself a reminder 2 to 4 weeks after you just sent the preliminary email. And you're going to share additional value, such as a relevant article, industry updates, maybe a case study, right? Suggest at that juncture, scheduling a meeting or call to discuss potential collaborations, right? Now it's a month out. You've put that out there, right? Then long-term, 1 to 3 months from now, you're going to check in with a friendly email referencing past conversations. You're going to share updates about your business or inquiry about theirs. And you're going to invite them to an event, Master Networks meeting, after hours networking event, out to dinner, out for drinks. Invite them to an event. Share an interesting resource, right? Don't forget those phone calls in between all this, okay? And then in your personalized strategy, ways to personalize follow-up, right? Reference specific topics from your conversation, like I said, or go back to the emails they've sent and reference some information they've shared. Share resources tailored to their industry. Again, acknowledge recent achievements. Oh, I saw you won this award, or I saw that you were speaking at this event. It shows that you're paying attention, right? And then later on, we'll get into some sample templates for you. But we're going to break out now. And these are the things that I want you to focus on. Information, how you organize it, personalizing, your frequency, and what your value add tactics are. So we'll break
Excellent.
down.
I did throw the slide in the chat, so you guys
Thank
can
you. Perfect. Thank
in your
you.
conversations to help you out. And I know Karen has if you didn't get the Word document, we'll make sure that you get that after with the recording. It'll be probably an attachment with the recording. The only other thing is, Karen, how much do you want to do a little bit more time this? Do you want to do a 10-minute breakout?
Yeah,
or-
I think 10 minutes is good for this. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do same as last time. You'll be out. The timer will count down from 9, and then you'll have an extra minute at the end. Please make there's 3 people mostly in a room, so you should have plenty of time to work this out and have fun. Please make sure everybody has a chance to share. And I'm going to open the rooms.
Perfect.
Excellent. Awesome. I hope you had really successful breakouts. Just like before, we'll take a couple of shares. Anyone want to share what they came up with? Go ahead, Harry. You're muted. Hold on.
I was just sharing with the group that I was with that, you do your follow-ups, you make the personal calls, and it gets to a point 2, 3 months down the road where the person's never said that they're not interested, but they're just not moving. So that
Yeah.
was the challenges that I've had, but I found a way to overcome this, and this is through years of sales training and tactics. And I used what I said was called a takeaway close.
Mhm.
It comes to a point where you have to say enough is enough. I don't need your business. I want your business. I want to help you, but I don't need it. And when I use that type of a tactic, I find that people perk up and they say, wait a second, he doesn't need my business. Then they want to see what's really going on. So that's the challenge I'm sure a lot of people have where months go by, they're not cutting you free. They're not saying, I don't want it, goodbye. They're stringing you along, but they're not moving.
Right.
So I would love to know if other people have a different way of dealing with it.
Once in a while, I'll get something that says, "Are you still interested in getting my emails?" or "Not sure." So they kind of are telling me to either say I'm interested or say I'm not. And sometimes I do respond to that. If I'm really not, I say it.
Yeah.
Or they know I'm somewhat interested if I kind of keep it going. So
Yeah. I think positioning is extremely important, and the words that you use and choose are extremely important. You never want to tell anyone, and I'm sure that's not what you say, Harry, as far as like, I don't need your business, or I think what you probably, the way you wordsmith it usually is, hey, I know that I've been reaching out a couple of times. I really want to make sure that I'm not overextending here. Is there a better time that I circle back? And set an expectation. Keep them in your marketing stream. Keep communicating with them, but you are letting them know, listen, if this is not the right timing for you, that's fine. Let me know when's a good time for me to circle back with you. I think and then you set that follow up. You set that call back. Don't set an email call. Set a call back for that time frame. But we all spend so much time talking to people every single day, and they're not always going to make. I tell you, I wind up getting people 2-3 years later who come back to me. And that's the way you have to look at it. This is just your pipeline. Robert Larson.
So typically what I do, so I'm an attorney, so we have like a lot of stringent regulations on what we can and can't do. I'll follow up 2, maybe 3 times, and eventually I will actually be very forward and say, let me know if you've gone another direction so that I can put your file into inactive. And 50% of the time I get a response. And no matter what, for those who respond, it goes accordingly. If they either engage or they say, we're postponing or doing something different, great. Engaged, active. Not going to engage, goes to inactive. And the people who don't, after a week or so, if they haven't responded, I put them back into an inactive status so that it's still in my CRM, but it's not staring at me with, the active open files. And that way, if they ever contact me, I'll still have that stuff there, my notes and whatever else that went along with the initial interaction. So I think, it's not being aggressive. I think it's being assertive.
No.
Are you
Right.
interested?
Agree.
If not, let me know and I will stop bothering you.
Right.
Is how I look at it.
Karen, can I just tell, there's a cautionary tale in here. One of our members in Master Networks, mortgage person, was not contacting her list that, hardly that often. And one of her good friends went with another mortgage agent. And she said to her friend, like, hey, how come you didn't use me? And she said, well, this other woman just kind of kept contacting me, and I thought you were too busy.
Right.
I thought like that kind of thing. So I think there's a
That's a
question
valid point.
between, just sending something, as you said, it's really about frequency. Thanks.
It is. Thank you. It's a great point. It is about frequency. And you know, what Harry and Robert both are saying is, listen, you're successful people, right? And you have business to do, and you should never be begging anyone for their business. They need to know that you're as important as they are, and you want to make sure you're not impeding on them in any way. But I will say this, I intentionally allow people to continue to reach out to me because I want to see how persistent they will be. And I will tell you, oftentimes I'll take the call and I'll go through the exercise with them because they have been so persistent. So when you start to lose touch with people and someone else, it's like the shiny bright object, right? If someone's always knocking on the door, they're going to be the ones that get the business.
Top of mind.
So that's why the frequency is important.
Right.
That's
Karen,
definitely
I
got our
know
hand.
it's,
Yeah.
we're sitting at 12:52 and I know you have a
Okay.
few other
Yep.
things to go through. And,
Yep.
I just
Sure.
want to make sure we cover that because I think what's coming up next is really fun and
Yeah.
important.
No worries. I did plop my contact information in the chat. Please feel free to reach out to me. I love brainstorming with people, help people out. So just let me know. The last part of this presentation really is, you know, follow-up process, right? And you know, one thing we always want to take away is, you know, hey, you know, what does some of these look like? And you know, do you have a template? And what I've put together is a couple of templates, right? For, you know, for the different stages, you know, you've got one for immediate follow-up, and it's basically just saying, you know, and there's places where you can customize it, right? So it's, you know, it was a pleasure meeting and talking with you. And then mention, like I said, the context at the conference, during our call, over coffee. Really enjoyed learning about X, right? That's why it's important you take a note, right? Because if you're meeting 5 or 6 people a week, and at the end of the week, you're gonna be sending out your emails and you're entering your data, Rick Gabriele, at the end of the week, you're gonna want to make sure you have your notes, because also put those notes in your CRM, right? Because you don't have to remember everything, right? And then as promised, here's my value add, blah, blah, blah. Looking forward to staying connected. Make sure you're giving them your contact information, your website information. Guess what? They're going to copy and paste that information about you and send it to someone when they want to refer you. So always make sure you're capping your emails with, closing your emails with your information. Short-term follow-up, again, hope this message finds you well. You know, I want to follow up on our recent conversation. You mentioned any discussions. Love to hear how you're progressing, you know, inquiring about them, giving a little bit about you. These are important. On the medium follow-up, which is your 1 to 3 months, right? Again, checking in, since they last connected, I want to check in and share a quick update, give them an update, on your business, maybe related to them, like we talked about earlier. You also came across maybe an article. You're going to come across an article. Make sure you're always looking and keeping articles on hand. Educating your prospects and your customers is the best way to get business, right? Consulting with your customers and your prospects is the best way to get and retain business, because they know you are the subject matter experts. They know you have a plethora of people at your fingertips that may be specializing in something that you don't. But when you reach out to somebody and you say, hey, I know, you know, Deborah Tobin, and you can, let me put her in contact with you because that's what she does for a living. The more that you're giving those people ways to get their work done or help them in their day, the more they're going to come back to you for your own business, right? Long-term follow-up, right? Hope you've been doing well. Wanted to reconnect, see how everything is going. You can retweet this since we last talked, right? And if you're up for it, like to schedule a call. One thing I will say here is, if you really want to meet somebody, throw out the date and the time. Put it out there. Say, I'd love to meet with you on Monday. How's 12 o'clock work? We can meet for 30 minutes, grab a cup of coffee. Be direct. Be direct about when you want to meet and get them, hold them accountable to giving you an answer. If at that juncture they continue to blow you off, like Harry and, you know, and Rob were saying, like, maybe that's when you say, hey, listen, I know, you know, I've been reaching out over the last 6 months. You know, I know you're really busy, as am I. I want to make sure that I'm not wasting your time. Is there a better way for me to be reaching out to you? Is there another time that I should be reconnecting with you? What would work best for you? You know, and get that straightforward answer. Better off getting it now, right?
Yep.
And then email to outline ideal referrals, right? Right. If you're not explaining to somebody what your ideal referral is or what value proposition you add, they're never going to be able to communicate that to somebody. So give that some great thought. So you're infusing that into your ideal referral or your email regarding providing your value proposition. So people are like, hey, you know what? I know that this person does A, B, and C. Let me speak to that. Let me connect you with them. You always want to stay top of mind. You want to make sure, like I said, snackable. Don't go on about everything you've ever accomplished. Don't go on about everything your business does. Pick out the value benefits. Pick out those 2 to 3 things that you know impact that business owner or that industry, and become the subject matter expert in that. Because when you can get a business that's within a specific industry and you become a subject matter expert in supporting that business, they will refer you to their franchises. They will refer you to their vendors, and then you become the subject matter expert across the board. And this one's about providing your value proposition. And we will share this presentation deck so you have it and you have these samples to use. And this one gives you a little bit about benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3. Be really specific about your time savings automation, your reduction of compliance risk, your personalization of support. Be specific about what that value add is, what they're going to get when they work with you. We're sitting at 12:57. We have a few minutes if anybody has any questions. And I'll stop sharing so I can see all your lovely faces. And there you all are.
Thank you so much, Karen.
My pleasure.
I just wanted to, Karen did say she's going to very graciously share her slide deck. Tina will have the recording of this presentation up on YouTube by the end of the day today. Tina put that link in the chat, so just go and grab that, bookmark it somewhere. And then when you go there, the worksheet will be there, the slide deck will be there, so you can grab all these amazing templates that Karen has shared to make our lives easier. Anybody else have a quick question? We can do one.
I just have a kudos. I'd like to say thank you, Teresa, Karen, as the training and development piece of our region, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Master Networks. Just thank you. I mean, if you guys don't realize, they're behind the scenes. They're putting this together. They're spending their time and their talents and their, all of this for you. And I just want to say thank you for this past trainings that you've done this year. Those are all on YouTube. If you want to go back and see some of the other fantastic work that they've done. But really, think of them for business needs. Teresa is my productivity coach, and she's fantastic. And Karen is an amazing, amazing businesswoman. And not only that, but the way that she thinks about, her people in her company. She's always thinking, always caring, and she thinks about you too. So please, you got to, if you need payroll or what do you call it? Human
Resources, yeah.
Human resources.
Human capital management.
Human capital management. Think about that. If you want to talk to them, please reach out and give them your time for their business. Thank you.
Thanks, Tina.
Karen, save the chat so you can see what everybody's saying about this awesome training today.
Oh, great. I will do that.
It really was just spectacular, helpful. And then, of course, while the information was amazing and the templates helpful, the questions thoughtful, the only way to affect change is to take action next. And I think Karen's given us all some really clear next action steps. Save the chat if you want to see all the amazing things as well. You either do it or you don't. Thank you, Harry. All right, I'm going to stop recording here.
Teresa, can you save the chat for me? For some reason, I can't.
I got it.
Okay. But thank you, everyone.